You know, when I grew up, my father really loved classical music, and he would listen to all these symphonies, you know, from beginning to end, you know, and he would know them by heart, and he would sit on his couch pretending that he's conducting, you know, especially when he was younger. I think when he got older, he kind of stopped doing that. But I remember him clearly like doing that a lot, you know, sitting there and conducting, you know, oh, look, now the violins come in, you know, and it, and here is me, right? I'm thinking, why doesn't that experience, you know, that love for music make you want to try to make something like that? Why doesn't it? That was a very primitive, primordial like thought that I had, that I got from watching that. Why doesn't that translate to let's write a symphony? And I know it's totally arrogant. I mean, the more you learn about music, the more baffling it becomes, you know, like you want to sit down and really try to understand like bebop, you know, and then this Charlie Parker guy, like how the F did he like do that, you know? Or like Art Tatum or Oscar Peterson, you know, like just, if you really, the more you know about music, the more baffling, you know, Oscar Peterson becomes, you know? And there's many, like Johann Sebastian Bach is like, what? How is that even possible, right? And so like we're gonna end up in this role of consuming other people and just be, oh, poor little me, and oh no, that's other people, and that just doesn't vibe with me at all. I always have that arrogant, you know, obnoxious thought that I could do it, you know, that if somebody did it, it must be possible to do. I always thought that. And then, yeah, it's hard. It's a difficult life, maybe, but I'm still convinced that why shouldn't that be possible? And why shouldn't that love for something translate into being a part of it? You know. And so it's an arrogant thought. It's obnoxious. It is unrealistic, and I still stick to it. I still think it's accurate and healthy and natural and right, you know, to think that. You know, I mean, also like when people think, oh, I could survive a UFC fight, you know, you know, like obviously not, you know, like, but a lot of people think that, and these UFC fighters who are famous, they have drunk people on the streets challenging them to a fight, which is absolutely suicide. Those people are totally like detached from reality. And when that is about fighting, yeah, then I understand, you know, it's not a good thing to do. But when it comes to art, it's exactly right. You know, be delusional. Be delusional, and no matter how much proof you get of your delusions being correct, never let go of your delusions. You know, no matter how, you know, your delusions is your bread and butter. That is where you come from. Be delusional. It's a poem on a paper. It's some chords on a guitar. It's recorded on it's a Logic project on a laptop somewhere. Who cares? It's a canvas in your living room. Be delusional about it. Be delusional. You know, that's what I think.